Hey everybody, this is David Kohlmeyer with Las Vegas Legal Network, and today we are here to interview client advocate and investigations for Las Vegas Legal Network. I'm here with Jennifer Griese. Jennifer, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So with the Las Vegas Legal Network, I wanted to share a little bit. I want people to know about you because you have a big background in regards to what you do. You retired police officer, investigations. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I'm retired law enforcement. I got into law enforcement because I had a member of my family murdered. So, I always have had this kind of, I like to help people, and I have a strong understanding what people are going through when they are in crisis. As a police officer, I worked as a detective. I was a beat cop. I worked DUI, one of my funnest jobs. Go out every night and just do DUI. So I have a strong DUI background. Crimes against children, juvenile background. I was I worked a lot of different areas, enjoyed my work very much. I was injured in the line of duty, got an early retirement, unfortunately. Then I was very lucky. I worked for LA County Superior Court doing pro per clients. So these are guys that are defending themselves in court, and I was their investigator, paralegal, doing everything for them because they were in jail and they couldn't leave jail, so I was doing that. And I was actually doing capital murder cases, so really good background.
Advanced stuff, wow.
Yeah, I've always been kind of involved in some pretty bad stuff, so nothing shocking. I know what people are going through, a lot of pain. Doesn't matter which side of the law you're on. It doesn't matter if you've been a victim or, you're fighting to be free. These things happen. They happen to good people.
Well, it's amazing. Thank you for your service and everything that you've done in the community. We always need good police and detectives out there throughout the United States to basically help people. So I appreciate everything you basically have done to help people in general. And so you basically know how it is to be out there in the street when, if someone's a victim in general, and how you help people now. And I know that you work for different, law firms and for the Superior County and different places. Tell us about, so you've been retired, you've worked with different law firms. What have you done in regards to working with different law firms and lawyers?
I've been an investigator inside a law firm. So you have an investigator who basically, I'm going to take a police report, dissect it, and then I want to go through it and re-interview everybody involved, plus follow up on my own leads. So that's what I do for attorneys.
So basically you're playing detective for real, but basically like in a law firm setting where you're working on cases.
Well, the person who, on a defense case, we need to check. We're doing a check on what the police did. And I think police are honest in general, so I don't have an issue there. But we do double check what's going on, and we want to know. And if I find something, I have to assume that the police would have found it. So we also want to know exactly what's going on before we get into court. So my job's actually really objective. I could be in a room saying, hey, I found this evidence and this evidence, which has happened to me before. You may be wanting to look at a plea bargain because if I found it, we might be getting surprised with it in court, or at least we can prepare ourselves if that surprise was to come up.
Got it. So at this point in time, so I know you're working with Las Vegas Legal Network, and you work with different lawyers that basically need help and have different cases. How does it work these days with Las Vegas Legal Network and other lawyers and people that basically may need your help?
Well, I see myself really as an advocate for clients because I generally, as soon as I start working with you and I'm working on the case, I'll develop a relationship with the family or the people involved, and I want what's best for you. And so as an advocate, one thing as an advocate, you have to find the right attorney. And with Las Vegas Legal Network, we're able to help you get connected to the correct attorney, the person who's going to really knows what's going on with the type of case you have. I can't stress enough how important it is to feel confident in your attorney and to be able to go into a room and ask them, if we do hire you, what are your plans for the case? We can also lead you to asking the correct questions. This is your first time going through something like this. It's unlikely that this has happened to you before. So with our experience, we're able to help you get connected to the right attorney and to ask the questions that are really going to make a difference in the defense of your case. And it doesn't matter if it's personal injury, criminal law, it could be employment, it could be any kind of law. We're at least going to be able to guide you down the right road of finding the correct attorney. We also know pricing and how much you should be paying and pre-files. A lot of people will have the police come over and want to question them. You don't know what to do. You can hire an attorney to do a pre-file case, which is during the investigative period before there's been a warrant or anything issued for you. You can get an attorney in the pre-file phase. Also, it's really important to get a pre-file attorney. If in fact a warrant does develop for your case, you don't want to be arrested at work. You don't want, if it's a juvenile, you don't want them to go through the trauma of being arrested at school or something like that. So the investigator, in my case, I would call up the detectives on the case and let them know, like, hey, this person's represented by an attorney. And, if this case should go to warrant, we would like an opportunity to surrender our client. And at that point, we would personally take you down to the police department with an attorney present so that nobody can question you. Just, make sure everything goes smooth. You're not getting grabbed at work. There's been cases where I'm like, hey, my client has children. If an arrest warrant comes up, can we have some time? We need to make arrangements for her to have somebody come pick up her children. We don't want the children to be there. Most of the time, law enforcement is really grateful for this because it's dangerous for them. They don't want to get in a situation where they're calling, child services for the children. Everything is always, we want to keep things in the best interest of the client and the children. The police generally work with me a lot and are cooperative.
It's amazing. Most people, I think that, if a police knocking on the door, they think, oh, it's a police officer, and basically I can go speak with them. But if someone makes an allegation, you really want, an attorney or maybe a law firm's basically an investigator or a client advocate basically to be with you to guide you through the process if you've never been through it. So it's really important. It's very critical to basically for your future, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you can speak, call an attorney and schedule an interview with the police with an attorney present. Just don't, go blindly into an interview. Do everything right. And so doing everything right is you can say to the police, I am willing to speak with you. I just have to I want an attorney, and I want an attorney to be present for that interview.
Got it. So the bottom line is you basically need to explain that, look, I have no problem speaking with you whatsoever, which I think it sounds good in general, to the police.
I want to cooperate.
I just want an attorney with me just to make sure my rights are protected because, I've seen some shows and movies and TV, and basically I just want to make sure my rights are protected. I have no problem meeting with you. So I think it sounds great. And then you have a lawyer that knows the law because not everybody knows the law, Absolutely.
You don't know the law. You don't have any idea what their agenda is. And, they could be talking to you about, you could think they're talking to you about something and they're talking to you about something completely different. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, definitely you want to have an attorney present, especially on juvenile cases. If your son or daughter gets involved in something, this is happening a lot with juveniles because just a mere accusation can lead to some really bad stuff. So definitely want to be getting those pre-file cases and having an attorney present for any kind of police investigation. Mom and Dad, I know you think you're good attorneys, but you really need to have an attorney.
Got it. So that's with being arrested in criminal defense. I know you're also involved in personal injury and accidents. How does your client advocate and investigations background help with someone that basically is an accident or injury when you're working with one of the attorneys? How does your background help with those personal injury cases? Also, I know with a lot of hit and runs, that's involvement as well. I know that a lot of people call hit and runs and they don't know who hit them and if there's insurance. But tell me your experience with that, with personal injury and helping with those type of cases.
Well, absolutely. And we work with different medical firms, and we help you get situated to go see the correct doctor, is a doctor that's, outside maybe of the scope, of what your case is. So let's say you've been to all the workers' comp doctors, and now it's time to seek your own doctor. We'll help you kind of negotiate that and get through that because, you do need to get second opinions, and we want to make sure that you get those second opinions and get to the right doctors, and that's something that we do. My background with the investigations on personal injury is I know vehicle collision. So I'm going to be out there doing a lot of measuring and that sort of thing. Slip and falls, the same thing. I'm out, I'm getting the measurements. I'm photographing the scene. I'm doing it in a timely manner. The scene can easily change. A crack in the sidewalk can be filled. From there being, I know we have these, they dump these big stacks of gravel along Vegas, and people run into them, and those cause accidents. And the next day, before any photos are taken, the gravel's gone.
So you'll actually go out, like take photographs of a scene, of a location, and
right away. And it's evidence.
Got it. So like if someone does a slip and fall or in a casino or something like that.
We're going to videotape it. We're going to, and we're also, I'm going to be checking to look if there's any cameras there. Pretty much everything in Vegas is almost on film. So I'm going to be collecting evidence as well, doing holds for evidence, asking for evidence, doing evidence requests.
How does it work in regards to like these casinos in regards to sometimes they don't want you in there taking pictures or video. You have to get a subpoena and stuff like that. How is your relationship working with these different casinos if there's an injury? Do you go just as a regular person just to try
I wish I could tell you that they're super cooperative, but no. So I'm writing a lot of subpoenas, and I deal with them all the time. And I think that I'm a really good subpoena writer in that I've learned what their answers are for the negatives, and I'm in there and I'm pushing and getting in there. They have to give us the evidence as discovery. If they have video, they always have videos. So we do an evidence hold on the video.
Don't they delete that within like 30 days? Like
you got to do the evidence hold right away.
Got it, because you could lose it.
Yes.
What's the average, would you say, that the video camera is like? Is it 48 hours or 72? They film over, or do they hold it for 30 days?
I think I'm going to be honest, I think that a lot of the people are not completely truthful about the evidence and say it's already been taped over.
They really have it, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's major casino, billions of dollars going into, right?
I think the casinos hold them. They definitely don't want to have a problem with...
For the future.
They're a professional organization. But if you're dealing with maybe... I don't want to say, but yeah, many times you're going to hear that the evidence has been taped over. But we still do an evidence hold. We still write the hold for the film.
Got it. One good question that people always ask, I notice, is that in this state, like if you get into an accident, they'll say, "Oh, there was a camera there. There was a camera on the light." What's your take on the camera? Are they recording? When someone gets into an accident, the cameras basically the red lights and stuff like that.
Well, they usually have like time lapse, so that's always an issue. They're like, "Oh, it didn't catch it," or this or that. But again, do the evidence hold, ask for the film, and if they don't provide it, that's questionable too. Like, where did the film go? Why we did an evidence hold? It's a preservation of evidence is what we ask them to do.
Any unusual stories in regards to, I know, this town's very big with personal injury and car accidents. People get injured all the time because basically people are from different states and they drive differently and recklessly. What are your, any particular cases or things that you can share that's kind of unusual with personal injury? Anything that you remember or doing?
A lot of slip and falls in Vegas is what I see. And it's people walking on the strip and there's cracks in the sidewalks or
I think you mentioned a while ago, there was a pool one with a grade. There was a slip and fall at a pool or something like that with the grade.
Oh, the grade got slippery. Yeah. So
like by the pools, right? The casinos, that it has to be a certain grade. If there's wet, that basically has to be a certain level, like to measure it.
Right.
And stuff like that. So the bottom line is you would go out and basically do an investigation, just like if you were a detective, and you're going to report back to the lawyers that you're basically working with at the time in order to basically help with someone's case, right? To make their case a better case and to have like evidence basically to protect the person's rights or the value of the case, right? Because a person could be injured, right? So
right. And that, like, the first thing I do is the preservation of evidence. It's the most important thing. Because if they can't provide the evidence, it doesn't look well on them. So now there was evidence. Where's the evidence? So that's what you want. You want that preservation of evidence. It's got to come from an attorney. You send them a preservation of evidence letter, it's just going to go straight in the trash.
Got it. Okay. So personal injury, criminal defense, I know you do different things in general. I know that you just, when you speak about these different things, you seem very passionate in regards to it. And I know that you mentioned family's been a victim in general, you've been around the block, but you're very, very passionate about what you do in regards to investigations and being a victim advocate. You probably, since you did policing, you probably could do anything within a law firm in general. Why are you so passionate about being a client advocate for people?
Well, remember, Lady Justice, she holds the scales, and it's really important that you get a fair shake, that it's even and balanced, and unfortunately, I think the laws become very unbalanced. And having that in mind, in this day and age, you just have to protect yourself, protect your family, do what you need to do. If you get injured, a lot of that's coming out of insurance. You pay insurance, companies are paying insurance. Get your insurance settlement done, have an attorney do it. They're going to make sure that you get everything out of that insurance settlement.
So it's important to have an attorney.
It's important to have an advocate for you. Also, when you're going through something like that, so you're home, you're now off work, you're homesick, you're probably the most depressed you've ever been in your whole life, and you've lost your ability to fight. And so you have to pay somebody, and I've said this to you before, David, you got to have somebody who's going to pick up the sword when you can't hold it anymore and you can no longer fight. They're going to pick up the sword and continue the fight for you, and a really good attorney is going to do that. They're going to fight for you to the end when you are completely exhausted and have no fight left and feel diminished. And that's what happens when you are a victim of a personal injury, because personal injury, that is a victim. You were about your way that day. You had no idea this was going to happen. And the next day, you're not at work. You're in the hospital. You're very injured. You have headaches for the rest of your life or worse. And that's, a terrible thing. And that's when you need help. That's when you need help. And the same thing, whether you are a victim in a criminal case or you've been falsely accused or you're innocent, these things are so overwhelming that there's just, I would find it hard pressed for anybody to be able to represent themselves or to not have an attorney or someone to help them through it. It's just too much.
It's amazing how you basically just kind of explain that, in general, because when people are down or they're hurt or they're injured, they need someone to be an advocate. They need a good attorney to basically fight for them. And it's important to, you said
They've never
before.
been through this before. This is, like, I'm talking about preservation of evidence. And somebody's probably like, oh, that's what you do? You write a letter from an attorney to hold the evidence? Yes. If you don't do that, that evidence will disappear.
So I know when you came to be part of Las Vegas Legal Network, why do you think it's so important? I know you talked about having a lawyer and have the network of lawyers in general, and I know that the Las Vegas Legal Network is 24/7. Why do you think it's so important to have like a network? Because you can go to any lawyer, right? Like you can go Google and find a lawyer, but if you don't have any experience, like how would you know what's a good attorney, right? So why would Las Vegas Legal Network, in your experience being detective and so on and law enforcement, why is having a network and not going directly to one attorney a good idea? Why is this network important to people in Clark County?
Well, it's important to people in Clark County. I'll tell you why. You just can't, unfortunately, you can't trust people, and everybody's just trying to make money here in Vegas. And in that, you're just you've already been victimized once. You don't want to hire an attorney and have to get a new attorney because they're not doing anything for you, and you don't understand why they're not doing anything for you, because you don't know that you should have already talked to them about what motions they should be writing, where they're going to go with this case. And you need an advocate who knows what's going to happen to kind of, talk the talk when you're at those interviews and tell you what, well, you want to be with an attorney's, look at how many cases your attorney pleads out. If they're pleading out 99.9% of the work, they're not good attorneys.
So the bottom line is that you got to look at their track record, right? If they're going to trial, if they're winning, the success, results that they've had. I always say, when you're looking for attorney, I think it's the 3 R's. I always say it's the reviews, the results, and the reputation of the attorney in general. And I think that's what's really important with the Las Vegas Legal Network is that it's not a law firm. It's basically a network. It's a referral service, but basically trying to find those right attorneys to basically help people.
We want to find the right attorneys, and we're not just taking on any old attorney. We're working with people we respect. We're working with, a solid group of attorneys that we respect and know do good work. Mm-hmm. it's not all about money. Don't need to just take any old attorney on, it's really important. Attorneys will take advantage of you if given the opportunity. Not all of them. There's absolutely good people out there, but there's a few bad eggs. And usually what's going on with you is very important in your life. So it's nice to have an advocate on your side, to be dealing with reputable people, and have your best interests in mind. It's very easy for these attorneys to take your case, not do an ounce of work, and call over to the DA and ask what the plea bargain is, or call on a personal injury case, call the defense firm and ask what their first offer is, and close out your case and walk away with their money. And obviously that's the easiest road, but that may not be the best road for you. So you want to make sure you don't get with somebody who's just doing sloppy work. And our attorneys are reputable, and they're with us because they're reputable.
And I think that the key also is communication. As people always complain, the communication with the attorney, they're not calling me. Today I got a message from somebody. They were unhappy because it was the first court date, the arraignment for a criminal defense case. And they said the lawyer never contacted me. And what happens is, I think most lawyers don't realize that even for arraignment, the average person doesn't understand that even though it's the first court date and they're pleading not guilty, people want that phone call to say, hey, by the way, we went to court today. You're okay. We pled not guilty. You're fine. The next court date is November, right? Instead of just saying, send a letter and saying, we're going to wait a week to basically get the letter to notify what happened today at court. People are nervous. They're upset. Their life. They can go to jail. So I think communication is so important, and that's what's important. And one of the attorneys in this network does not have communication with the client. They should not be part of the network. I assume you would agree.
Oh,
communication
totally
is totally key, right?
Yeah, if communication is key, and if they're so busy they can't get all their phone calls out by the end of the day. I know when I work as an investigator for attorneys, a lot of the clients will call me and they're like, I haven't been able to get a hold of an attorney. And I say, well, he was in court, but this is what I know. And I'm always open to take a phone call, and I don't leave work without all my phone calls answered at the end of the day. I'm not an attorney, but most of the investigations I do, I would be working for the attorney who's handling your case. And I'm real good about phone calls, but they get busy. I get that. But definitely, if you don't receive a phone call back within 24 hours, that's a problem.
Got it. Well, Jennifer, I appreciate you being here and just talking a little bit about the network, and your background and experience is amazing to basically have to help any of the attorneys part of the network. And again, Las Vegas Legal Network, we're not practicing law. We are basically the advocate, basically helping as a liaison between attorneys, in the network as like a lawyer referral service, but also trying to help the client to make sure that they're communicating with the attorney, making sure that they're okay, checking in with them more in general. So I think it's a really important service that basically we do to help people and connect them to the right attorneys. So anyone that has any type of legal problem, they should call. There's a toll-free number, which is on the screen. Basically, it's 1-844-LAWYERS, which is a toll-free number, which is big throughout the U.S. And as the network basically grows to different states, the 844-LAWYERS will go to different, different state, different attorneys in different states. And again, so I think it's a great thing that we have going on. So I wanted to bring you on because I think that your experience is really important, and I wanted to share that. Maybe next time, maybe we could talk about a few different cases. We don't have to bring up people's names, of course, due to the confidentiality, but maybe we could talk about some cases and your experience that you've worked on. I think a lot of people like these different stories and how you basically help people as a client advocate. So again, I appreciate you coming on here as well, talking about it. Again, I'm Dave Kohlmeyer. I am the Director of Client Relations for the Las Vegas Legal Network. And if you have a problem whatsoever, if you basically need an attorney, please contact the network. Let's set you up with the right attorney. Again, the toll-free number is 1-844-LAWYERS. And thanks for joining us today. Have a great one.